Today we will discuss criticisms of approach on dividend policy. The validity of approach is open to question on two counts. One is it is imperfection of capital market, and the second is resolution of uncertainty. Had assumed that the capital markets are perfect, which is not true. So the markets are imperfect and there is no resolution of uncertainty that he has addressed. So let's see these in detail. First one, market imperfection. Miller basically said that there are no taxes and taken into account tax effect, flotation cost effect, transaction cost effect, which in real life is not true. So if tax comes into picture, an assumption of hypothesis is that there are no taxes. It implies that if you retain money, that is internal financing, and payment of dividend, that is external financing, are same from the tax treatment viewpoint. But for an operational viewpoint, capital gain tax is lower than the tax on dividend income, and it becomes payable only when the shares are actually sold. So you cannot say that the retained earnings tax and the dividend tax are same, because dividend tax is paid whenever you receive dividend, and you receive dividend most often, so the dividend tax that you will pay will be more. Whereas in case of capital gain tax, you will have to pay it only once when you sell the shares, because that's the capital gain and the rate will be comparatively low. So they say you cannot treat both the taxes at the same, because if the company gives dividend, we'll pay dividend tax, but if the company doesn't give dividend, the uh, person who owns the shares will sell the shares for his basic needs. So when he sells the shares, he'll have to pay capital gain tax. So both the taxes have different effect on the individual. So dividend and retained earnings are not same. If you give dividend, tax treatment will be different. If you retain money, the shareholder will sell the shares and he will have to bear the capital gain tax. So that's why first assumption of not having any taxes is a problem for approach. He's criticized on this. Next is flotation cost. Another assumption that he said was there are no flotation costs, there's absence of flotation costs, which is not true. Whenever you don't give dividend and the shareholder has to sell his shares to get the money, he'll have to pay flotation cost, brokerage cost, or commission, which is an expense for the shareholder to bear. So flotation cost is an important factor that we need to take care. The term flotation cost refers to the cost involved in raising capital from the market, for instance, underwriting commission, brokerage, and other expenses. So, if the company goes for internal financing, there is no need to sell additional shares, and therefore the flotation cost will be low. So through sale of shares, if we are getting the money, it will be costly. But what says is whether you give dividend, don't give dividend, it doesn't matter. You can borrow money easily from outside. But we cannot borrow money easily from outside, because from outside when we borrow, we'll have to go undergo this underwriting commission and brokerage cost. Next is transaction cost. Yet another assumption that he made was there are no transaction costs for buying and selling of shares from investors' point of view. So the no transaction cost postulates implies that if dividend are not paid, the investor desirous of current income to meet their consumption needs can sell a part of their shares or holdings without incurring any cost like brokerage and so on, which is unrealistic. This is obviously an unrealistic assumption since the sale of securities involve cost. So flotation cost is the cost that the company has to incur to issue new shares if they don't retain their own earnings. So there is flotation cost, and if they retain earnings and they don't give dividend, shareholders will have to sell the shares and they will have to bear the brokerage cost, which is called as transaction cost. So the markets are not perfect, they are imperfect. There are taxes, there are flotation costs, and there are transaction costs. The next is institutional restrictions. The dividend alternative is also supported by legal restrictions as to the type of ordinary share in which certain investors can invest. Now, there are rules that a few institutional investors can invest in shares only if those companies are paying dividend. So, if you don't pay dividend, LIC may not invest in your company, because their legal clause itself says that you have to invest in those companies which have paid dividend. I'll read the clause for you. For instance, life insurance companies are permitted in terms of section 27A of the Insurance Act 1938 to invest in only such equity shares on which dividends of not less than 4%, just this is an important point I'm highlighting. Okay, so only such equity shares on which dividends of not less than 4%, including bonus, has been paid for 7 years or for at least 7 out of 8 or 9 years immediately preceding. So, if you are a company who never pays dividend and feels that not paying dividend is okay, then institutional investors like LIC will not invest in your company. That is another issue that has not addressed. Okay, then to be eligible for institutional investment, the company should pay dividends. This legal impediments therefore favor dividend to retention of earnings. So, if you want big institutions to invest in your company shares, those companies will have to pay dividend. So, this also is a drawback of approach. If you don't pay dividend, institutional investors won't invest. Then resolution of uncertainty. So this was the second. I hope you remember there were two things. First is imperfection of capital market, under which we discussed that taxes are not same for dividend and capital gains. There is flotation cost for the company, transaction cost for the investors, and there is importance of dividend to be paid if you need institutional investment. Now the second point, resolution of uncertainty. He's also criticized on this. Apart from market imperfection, the validity of hypothesis, as it argues that dividends are irrelevant, is questionable under conditions of uncertainty also. If the dividends are irrelevant, then how will you meet? Because future is uncertain. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So usually we say we want current income. What you're giving me today, you give it, because tomorrow I will be there or not, no guarantee. So that uncertainty will lead people to get dividend. They will ask for current dividend and they don't want to wait for capital gains. So this part he did not address. So we can illustrate it in four aspects. First, near versus distant dividend. Next, informational content of dividend. Preference for current income and sale of stock at uncertain prices, that is underpricing. Let's discuss each one of it. Near versus distant dividend. One aspect of uncertainty or the situation is the payment of dividend now or at a later date. If the earnings are used to pay dividend to the investors, they get immediate or near dividend. But however, if the earnings are retained, the shareholders will be entitled to receive a return after some time in the form of increase in the share price or bonus share and so on. The dividends may then be referred to as distant or future dividend. So if you give dividend every year, you call it as near dividend. But if you don't give dividend and you tell the shareholders that when the share prices will increase, you will start earning from it, we call it as distant dividend. The crux of this problem is, are the investors indifferent? That means, do they treat both the dividends same way, that is immediate and future dividend? If they treat both similarly, then it is okay, but if they prefer one over other, then there is a problem. So according to Gordon, one of the preacher of dividend policy, who has also given a theory, he says people are not indifferent, they prefer current dividend, that is immediate dividend, and they are not ready to wait for distant dividend. One of the reason behind this is future is uncertain and there is high risk in the future. The share price may increase or decrease, nobody is sure about it. So because of this uncertainty, he says people will be willing to get current dividend, and he has explained this with the bird in hand argument. Bird in hand argument is nothing but getting current dividend is more important than waiting for future high dividends. Uh, the argument goes like this: a bird in hand is better than two in the bush. So we say if there are two birds on the bush or on the tree, and if you sit seeing them and you don't shoot, you will not get any of them. But if you shoot, one may fly away, but one at least will come in your hand. So they say current dividend is more important, bird in hand is better than sitting and seeing two in the bush. So that is how he tries to explain his argument. So people prefer current dividend is what one of the demerits. Next, informational content of dividend. When you give dividend, it gives out certain information into the market, and many a times this information acts like a positive information, and your share prices go on increasing. According to this, As the name suggests, the dividend contains some information vital to the investors. The payment of dividend conveys to the shareholders the information relating to profitability of the company. If the company is paying dividend, that means the company is earning profit. So it takes that information out. The significance of this aspect of current dividend payment is expressed by Izhar Solomon in these words. So this person says that payment of dividend is important. How is he telling it? In a uncertain world, which is we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so it's an uncertain world in which verbal statements can be ignored or misinterpreted. So in this uncertain world, if the company says I'm good, I'm working well, people may misinterpret or may not take verbal statements seriously. Dividend action does provide a clear cut means of making a statement that speaks louder than a thousand of words. So instead of companies talking big about themselves, if they give dividends, the payment of dividend itself talks louder than the words. So there is no need to speak too much. If you give dividend, the action itself will speak for itself, and people will start believing that you have huge profits and they will start investing in your company. So dividend has information content, and therefore giving dividend is important. Preference for current income. This is same like the bird in hand argument. Many people prefer current income and they don't want to wait for the future. Okay, the third aspect of uncertainty question relating to dividend is based on the desire of investors for current income to meet their consumption requirements. As of now, I need money. If you give me now, I can use it for my consumption. Hypothesis of irrelevance implies that in case dividends are not paid, investors can sell shares and meet their current obligation. But if they sell shares under uncertainty conditions, the two alternatives are not of the same footing because the price of the shares fluctuate and selling a small fraction of the shares is inconvenient. So if I want 100 rupees, if you give dividend, it will be easy for me to use that and consume. But if dividend is not given, I'll have to sell shares which gives me 100 rupees. It's a very small portion and it becomes inconvenient to sit selling one share, two share every time. We'll have to bear brokerage cost, transaction cost, and the share prices also keep fluctuating. So if I need money immediately, I may sell it at low price also, so that is also another loss. That's why also is criticized. Underpricing, this basically is what I told sometime, that if you sell the shares in the market, sometimes you may have to sell it at lower prices because you need income immediately. So implies sale of shares at price lower than its current market price. This implies that the firm will have to sell more shares to replace the dividends. So here the firm, the investor actually will have to sell more shares to replace the dividend income. So that is underpricing, when you are selling the shares at lower price than the market price. So these were the criticisms of approach. So he is criticized on these aspects. I hope it was clear.